I love great conversations. Hi, my name is Angel Jones. Thank you for joining me on 12-minute convos where I help you create a brand of your own unique, real self. Listen in as I have conversations with amazing people from all over the world. Good day, Trevor Norton. How are you going on this wonderful, beautiful day?
I'm doing really well. Excited for this opportunity here. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah, sure. It's a great pleasure to connect with you. What part of the world are you in right now, Trevor?
So I'm currently born and raised in South Jersey. So I'm right next to Philadelphia. So pretty much when anybody asks, I'll tell them I'm right there in South Jersey, but right next to Philadelphia.
Oh, sweet. And which of your talents is responsible for us connecting at this time?
I would say via podcasting. We're both fellow podcasters. My friend and I recently launched a podcast about 3 months ago called Reist Forty Tales of Outliers. So we connected on LinkedIn, I believe, because we're both fellow podcasters.
Yeah, we are podcaster, family podcaster. Love what you're doing. Now tell us what you offer on that podcast, please.
Yeah, sure. So like I said, the podcast itself is titled Reist Forty, 40 spelled out, Tales of Outliers. So basically the vision and the mission for the podcast is to help bring value to those who are not necessarily just simply trying to start a business, but to follow their passions and start something on their own, build something for themselves. So what we do is we interview individuals who have done so themselves, whether they're an entrepreneur, an influencer, a professional athlete, a world traveler, whatever the case may be. We interview individuals who have followed their passion and created a lifestyle out of that passion, because teaching entrepreneurship or teaching how to build something for yourself isn't necessarily offered so much in school, or it's not the easiest thing to teach. So what we found is by interviewing these individuals, bringing their stories to light, it provides some value for other individuals to say, wow, I was in a similar spot in my life, and I can now attain something, or I can get some value from this podcast to start that path for myself.
Well done. So who did you learn the skill of podcasting from?
I was a big fan of podcasting probably for a couple of years, and my business partner, Shane, we would always have conversations about like entrepreneurship and what we wanted to build together. And he's a big podcasting fan himself. And we're like, you know what, why not just bring these conversations to light, put them in a platform that can provide some value to an audience. And also, it's a great opportunity for us to learn about entrepreneurship and how to go about doing something on your own by conducting these conversations. So there was no formal education or no formal learning from anybody else. It was more kind of like, we were consumers ourselves of podcasts. We studied other podcasts, and it was kind of one of those things where we just jumped forward and said, you know what, we're going to figure it out.
Love it. Now that you've started, why will you continue?
It's such a passion of mine and such a passion of Shane's, where we have conversations with individuals on just how to get better, how to continue to grow, how to continue to help others. And at first, I'll be honest, it was a little weird. I'm sure you can attest to this yourself, listening to yourself on podcasts.
It still is.
You never really get fully used to it. But it's such a cool experience, because you end up networking with individuals because look at us right now, we're having this conversation where if you or I didn't start a podcast, we would not have had this conversation. Exactly. So it's really cool to see the connections that you build, the network that you build from it. And it's just a passion of mine. I love to learn, and I love to hear about others' journeys and other stories.
That's great. Well, I have a hack to get around your voice. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah, I would love to.
I listen to myself on 2x.
I might have to start trying that then.
Yeah, it definitely helps.
Perfect.
But tell me one other thing that you've done consistently over the last 3 years, please, Trevor.
Yeah, so I would say something I've done consistently is exercise. I'm a really big fan in working out and in wellness. So throughout my entire life, I played basketball, and I played basketball in college, and then an injury did not allow. My goal was to play overseas somewhere, but I got a knee injury that kind of put my career to an earlier end than expected. But one of those things that came out of it was just I was really big into working out and getting better with each season. So since my career ended, I've really focused on the weight room, and I go pretty much every day. It's one of those things where it's a great way to get your mind off of the day-to-day activities, great stress relief. I love it. So I would say something I do pretty much on a daily basis for the last 3 years has been going to the gym and getting some form of workout in.
That's good. That's good. Why would you suggest to someone that's listening that they do that? They implant, if you would, that opportunity to keep fit.
Yeah, sure. So I would say something that a fellow podcaster, Joe Rogan, I listen to his quite consistently, and he says something that I love and I think applies to my life and can apply to everybody's lives, is that you need to do something on a day-to-day basis where you struggle and where it really pushes you. So that's what I found in the weight room, where I feel like it applies to other aspects of my life. For example, if I'm going really, really hard in the weight room and I'm exerting a lot of energy, it's one of those things where you test your limits, you get uncomfortable, and that whole mindset, that whole mentality, I think applies to other aspects of my life. So for those listening, if you I think it's a great way, not only because it's gonna increase your health in terms of all aspects of your life, but it's instilling that mentality of overcoming an obstacle, finding a solution, and like pushing your boundaries and getting uncomfortable. So sure, you're gonna find benefits in the weight room and you're gonna find benefits in health, but I think you were gonna find a ton of benefits in terms of that mentality.
Well, you definitely look like a deadlift type guy, right? So what are you lifting?
Yeah, so I pretty much at the moment I haven't done CrossFit or any type of cross training like that. I think eventually I'm going to get into it, but right now I pretty much do a lot of isolation training. I'm trying to bulk up a little bit because I'm not playing basketball anymore, so I can't have a little bit of added weight to put on. But yeah, a lot of isolation training. I like to do cardio at least 4 to 5 times a week. Wow. And I'm a big stretching guy. Yeah. That was like a big joke of mine in my career. Everybody used to make fun of me for how much I stretch, but I'm really big into like yoga and stretching and staying limber.
Sweet. Well, amazing audience. We are live with Trevor Norton. Again, he is the podcast co-host of Reist Forty. You could definitely check that out. Where's the best website for us to connect with that?
Yeah, for sure. So currently we're building out a website right now. It's going to be awesome. But the best platforms to reach us at, if you want to connect, you could simply type in on iTunes, Reist Forty, Tales of Outliers, or you could visit SoundCloud. So it'd be www.soundcloud.com/Reist40. And like I said, 40 spelled out Forty.
Wonderful. Well, Trevor, let's switch gears for a moment now, and let me invite you into my time machine that is surrounded with beautiful, warm, blue Caribbean water. Trevor, what is your earliest childhood memory?
My earliest childhood memory, I would probably say, I lived in the same house pretty much my entire life, and one of the benefits that came from this area that I live in is it's a development. So I had a ton of friends. So I was fortunate enough where I had friends living in this development where I could walk to my friend's house, or we would, riding bikes was a big thing. So I'd say like my earliest memories are just kind of in the neighborhood, riding bikes around, playing all different kind of sports, jailbreak type games. So just kind of getting outside and being active with my friends.
All right. And in this earliest childhood memory, how old do you think you were?
I don't know. I'd probably say like 5, 6, 7 in that age range.
So why do you think this memory is so clear, and do you see it connecting to who you are now?
Yes, certainly. I think that's a great question. I think one of the things that I try and do, definitely not on a day-to-day basis because, schedules do get kind of tight, but I love to get outside and go for a walk, get outside and go for a run. And I love doing that like in the woods in a nature type setting where I'm kind of, disconnected from others, disconnected from my phone. And the reason I say that is because my development, we're surrounded by woods. So what we would do a lot of the times is just get outside and play or get in the woods and, have little adventures and journeys. And it was just one of those things where you're younger and, you're getting outside and connecting with your friends and playing. But I think that echoes into my life nowadays where, when I feel stressed out or when I have a lot going on, it's great to disconnect and get back into nature because I think there is that element of of stress relief, but there's also that element of like being younger again, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Love it. Love the way you connected those dots. Love it. Well, if we fast forward to when you were 12 years old, what was your favorite song?
My favorite song when I was 12?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's a really, really good one. Let me think here. I would say 12 years old, I was really starting to get into hip hop. Because, like I said, I played basketball my whole life. So, obviously, you're trying to hype yourself up before a game. So, I'm going to go with In the Club by 50 Cent.
Oh, there we go. Definitely a hype song, right? It speaks to, like, if we just pull the title of the song too, right? I mean, just the children, you liming. Well, liming is a Trinidad too. Which means chilling, right? So, it's like you chilling and in the club, right? It's like you guys were in, like, this club, right? The group of you in that development. Yeah, it's in the club. It's amazing how it connects, right?
Oh, of course.
All right, my friend, we have now arrived at our destination, but before we get off of this time machine, there is a small declaration form, so it's yes or no, possibly a bit more. We're going to go pretty quickly here. Are you ready, Trevor?
Oh, for sure.
Trevor, have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
I have not. I think eventually, I'm trying to do that in terms of getting better at speaking and getting better at communicating on my podcast series to try and bring values to others. Obviously, eventually down the line, if I have children, I'd love to pass off those skills to them. But I think I'm just trying to get better on a day-to-day basis for myself so that I can communicate those skills to other individuals down the line.
Are you married?
I am not.
Do you have children?
Currently do not. Nope.
All right. Do you believe in God?
I believe in God, but I do not believe in the biblical form of God.
Do you have an inner circle of friends?
For sure.
Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
No.
How about 3 hours a week?
Yes.
What about screen time, the phone and the computer? Is it more than 8 or less than 8 hours a day?
Definitely more than 8.
If you, Trevor, had to share with us your own unique real statement, a statement that represents who Trevor Norton is, what would you say that is?
First thing that comes to mind would be thoughts become things. And the reason I say that is because this is a concept that's been very prevalent in my life for the past couple years, where I'm really, really getting big on telling other people my goals, writing goals down, and speaking those goals into existence. Because when you have that thought of what you want to do, you need to act on it and you need to tell other people, because those people will then hold you accountable. So I would say thoughts become things, because your thoughts, they're not just thoughts. They're not some whimsical idea. They're real things.
Love it.
So putting those thoughts out there, help them become reality.
Trevor Norton, this was a great pleasure. Before you leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
Yeah, I would just say simply, if anybody in this audience is listening right now and they have some idea that they want to go pursue, something they want to build, whatever the case is, do it. And I know that sounds a lot easier than in all reality, but for example, look at this conversation right now. The reason I'm on this podcast is because my friend and I said, you know what? We're not going to care what other people think. We're going to put out content and we're going to put it out and we're going to chase what we want to chase because we're passionate about it and there's right intentions behind it. And then this connection happens. So you never know what's going to come from just simply acting and simply working towards your goals. So I would say the biggest thing, do not listen to what other people say. Listen to what your gut is telling you. Follow that passion, because at the end of the day, it's your life, it's your decisions, so live life on your own terms.
True North, TN, Trevor North. Trevor, this has been a great pleasure. Thank you for being Trevor Norton. Thank you for being on What is Inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. Stay tuned for more from our advertisers.
Diabetes is a mountain pandemic. It's a disease that's not acute but chronic. Similar to this rhyming method, I have simplified the definition, the signs and symptoms, and the complications of diabetes for both adults and children in my books, Poems for Patients, A Focus on Diabetes, and The ABCs of Diabetes for Children. These books are available on Amazon.com. And for more information, you can visit my website, poemsbyaj.com. That's poemsbyaj.com.